Donald Trump threatens new high tariffs against all European countries that oppose the American takeover of Greenland. Meanwhile, in Europe, they are preparing a plan for a retaliatory strike against the United States, although Europe has already shown itself in a less than favorable light. When several NATO countries sent only a few soldiers to Greenland, for example, Germany sent as many as 13 soldiers to defend the island, and France sent a whole 15 specialists. But in this episode, I suggest we set aside all emotions and get to the main question: why does Donald Trump want Greenland? My name is Alexei Pecci. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave any comment under this episode and at the end of the episode if you find it interesting and useful. You can support the work of this YouTube channel financially through your donation or a paid subscription using the links and details provided. In the description of this video it says support Alexei Pecci's channel. Choose any format that is convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support you provide. So, I'll start with the latest news and then we'll dive into a thorough analysis. Donald Trump threatened Europeans with new tariffs if they oppose the American takeover of Greenland. Quote, "I am the king of tariffs and I can impose taxes against countries that do not agree with Greenland joining the United States." Europeans are cautiously discussing plans to respond to such rhetoric in this situation. It's important to recognize the United States still has a key role in European security and supporting Ukraine, even if only through weapon sales. But in this episode, I suggest we focus on the question: why does Donald Trump want Greenland? Why do Americans need this island? From a military strategic point of view, the United States has at least two reasons to want this island. It protects United States territory from the sea and from the air. In addition, Greenland could strengthen the United States' position in the Arctic, a region that is becoming increasingly important. But let's break everything down step by step. So let me start from a bit further back to give you some context. If we look at the map, we'll see that the west coast of the United States is washed by the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean holds the main security threat for the United States. Because China has access to the Pacific Ocean and its coastline is quite long, but Russia has even more access to the Pacific Ocean. If we look at the military map, we'll see that the United States of America has traditionally regarded the Pacific Ocean as a source of threat, and the Pacific Ocean is full of American military bases. America has the most overseas military bases in Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea. But the Atlantic is a completely different matter. Neither Russia nor China has direct access to the Atlantic. From Russia, you can reach the Atlantic by sailing through the Black Sea, the Bosporus, Dardanelles, Mediterranean Sea, and Gibraltar, though it's not the most convenient route. There are at least two very narrow Turkish straits on this route which are closed in case of war according to the Montreux Convention. Well, that's exactly what happened. In 2022, after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russian and Ukrainian warships are not allowed to pass through the straits. Russia also has a second way to reach the Atlantic, and it seems easier. From the Barents Sea, around the Scandinavian peninsula, and then through the wide passage past Iceland into the Atlantic Ocean. This route will pass by the NATO countries of Norway, the United Kingdom, and Iceland. And on the other side of this route will be Greenland itself. In NATO, this route is called the Greenland-Iceland-Faroes line. It's a line that runs from Greenland through Iceland, the Faroe Islands, and up to the northern tip of Scotland. Of course, this line is kind of symbolic, but the military considers it the most convenient place to defend the Atlantic from the Arctic Ocean side. The strategic importance of this line was recognized as early as the beginning of the 20th century, but during the Cold War, it became crucial. After all, nuclear submarines with ballistic missiles used to pass through it on patrol into the Atlantic, and once lost somewhere in the Atlantic, such a submarine could launch a strike from an unexpected direction. The Atlantic has been and remains the main supply route between North America and Europe. And if we look at history, we will see that the naval forces of the Third Reich, the Kriegsmarine, during World War II tried to block exactly this route. The Germans in World War II believed blocking this route would disrupt the connection between America and Europe. If the Cold War had escalated into World War III, then the Soviet Union would surely have also tried to disrupt shipping in the North Atlantic by sending surface and submarine vessels there. During the Cold War, it was in this area that the Americans deployed an automatic shipping control system, which used a network of sensors to track Soviet submarines heading out on patrol in the Atlantic. And here's the most interesting part. In any defensive line, the flanks are important, and it's often the flanks that are the weakest point. And if NATO loses control over Greenland, as Donald Trump fears, then those who gain such control will probably be able to penetrate the North Atlantic more freely than is possible now. And now, Trump openly states that the Russians and the Chinese want to be the first to seize this island and thereby capture one of the flanks of this line. The second reason why Trump wants to seize Greenland so much. On the island, there is the Pitufik Space Force Base, which is a crucial element of the American early warning system for intercontinental ballistic missile launches toward the United States. Now Donald Trump is planning to deploy the advanced missile defense system, the Iron Dome, on the island as well. If you look at a globe, Greenland is located under the flight path of intercontinental, which can be launched from most of the positional areas of the Russian strategic forces. About 10 kilometers from the base, there is a large, stationary early warning radar, which is capable of tracking launches from the European part of Russia and Asia. It is located quite close to Russia and, in the event of a missile launch, allows for extra time, specifically minutes, to understand how to respond. However, Pitufik is not only part of the missile launch tracking system, but also a space base that serves for satellite communications. And finally, control over Greenland can, in principle, strengthen the United States' position in the Arctic, a global region whose development is still at a fairly low level. However, climate change is causing the summer ice to melt, which opens up new opportunities for the development of natural resources. Greenland has oil, uranium, and, which is very important in the modern era, rare earth metals such as neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, and terbium. Well, at least part of what China currently has a monopoly on, but there is also a purely economic reason why Trump wants Greenland so much. The two most well-known transport corridors in the Arctic are the Northern Sea Route along the coast of Russia and the Northwest Passage along the northern coast of North America through the Canadian Arctic archipelago. The Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are connected by the Panama Canal and the Drake Passage off the coast of Antarctica. But there is no such route in the north. The infrastructure in the passage area is very poorly developed. There are not enough large ports, there are no communication systems, there are not enough icebreakers, and so on and so on. But the trade and military potential of this passage is great, and the investments will definitely pay off. And here is where it gets most interesting. Canada believes that the Northwest Passage is within its internal waters, while the United States of America says no, this passage is located in international waters. In the first case, Canadians will be able to enforce their own navigation rules in this passage. In the second case, international rules will apply there. And if the United States gains control over Greenland, it significantly strengthens their position in the dispute over the Northwest Passage. But not only that. This will generally strengthen their position. In the Arctic, where Russia and China are now becoming more active, Moscow, for its part, is increasing its military power in the Arctic by expanding its northernmost military base, called the Arctic Trefoil, on Franz Josef Land, and the Northern Clover on the New Siberian Islands. Russia also has large airfields and radars in the Arctic. In 2018, China declared itself a near-Arctic state. Yes, that's exactly how they have it written. And they declared the creation of a polar Silk Road through the Arctic Ocean and even started purchasing icebreakers to begin implementing it. In short, both China and Russia are trying to establish their own trade routes there. And Trump needs his own route in the Arctic, and Greenland, as they say, would help him with that. So, as we can see, if you look at the situation through the eyes of the Americans, they really do need the island of Greenland. But here remains the question. Is it possible to achieve the same goals through cooperation with the Europeans? Or is it necessary to actually seize the island, thereby undermining the NATO system? Write your opinion in the comments under this video. I'll leave it at that. Your opinion, your conclusions, write them in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. And as you remember, if you found this episode interesting and informative, you can support the work of this YouTube channel with your donation using the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.